What I'd like to do in this video is take a look at page 244, number 44, and the directions say write the equation in slope-intercept form, then graph the equation. We first have this equation of 5 times the quantity of x plus 3 plus y is equal to 10x. And we want to write this in slope-intercept form, so we want it to look something like this: y equals mx plus b. We know that that is slope-intercept form. So we're first going to start by distributing this 5. So we'll get 5x plus 15 plus 5y equals 10x. Now I want the y by itself, so I'm going to leave it here on the left-hand side and then move the other terms. So let's start by subtracting 5x from both sides. I'll get 15 plus 5y equals 5x. This cancels out. Then I'll go ahead and subtract 15 from both sides, and I'll be left with 5y equals 5x minus 15. Well, it sort of looks like this right now, this y equals mx plus b, but not quite. I have mx plus b on this side, but the y is not by itself yet. So I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 5. And remember, when I divide by 5 on this left-hand side, I have to divide the entire right-hand side by 5. So it's 5x over 5 minus 15 over 5. So I'll be left with y equals x, because 5 over 5 is 1, or just 1x, minus 15 over 5 is 3. So now I have an equation that is y equals x minus 3. It looks like this y equals mx plus b. So now I have to think about how am I going to graph this. Well, if I take a look at this, I have to identify the slope and the y-intercept. So I know that m here represents the slope. Well, what is the coefficient of x if I don't see one? Coefficient is 1. So my m, or my slope, is 1 over 1. That's my slope. And my y-intercept is this b here. It's going to be the point 0, negative 3. So if I know that, I'm going to come in and I'll graph. So because I know that I have a y-intercept of 0, negative 3, I know that this is a point on the graph. So I'll start by graphing that point. So if we're counting by ones here, I'll go 1, 2, 0, negative 3. That's a point right here. Now, what is my slope? My slope is 1 over 1. It means that for every 1 in the rise, I have to go 1 in the run. So for every positive 1 in the y direction, I have a positive 1 in the x direction. So I'm going to go up 1 and to the right 1. Here's a point. Up 1 and to the right 1. Here's a point. Here's another point. If I run out of room, I can always go down 1 and to the left 1, because a negative change divided by a negative change, it'll still have that positive trend. And now I have a line that passes through all those points. And this is the graph of that equation. The next one I'd like to look at is number 45. Number 45 reads 2x plus 3y minus 4 is equal to x plus 5. Again, I want it to look like this y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to move some terms around. I'll go ahead and I'll start by adding 4. Now you could also subtract 2x first if you'd like. It doesn't matter the order, as long as you move the x terms and the constants to the right side and leave the y by itself on the left-hand side. So I'll be left with 2x plus 3y equals x plus 9. Then I'll subtract 2x from both sides, and I'll be left with 3y equals x minus 2x, or 1 minus 2 is just negative 1. or we're going to call it negative x plus 9. Now I divide both sides by 3. Get y equals, well, what is this negative x over 3? X divided by 3, that's the same thing as 1/3 x, or if I want to pretend like there's a coefficient of a negative 1 here, so now it's negative 1/3 x, and then positive 9 divided by 3 is a positive 3. Y equals mx plus b. Again, my slope here, my m is negative 1/3, and my y-intercept is 0, 3. So now I have to graph it. Now I have to graph this equation. So put out a graph here. Let's see, it'll look better this way. Actually, let's stay consistent. Let's stay consistent. We'll do it this way. Okay. My y-intercept was 0, 3. Again, here, my y-intercept was 0, 3. I know that that's a point on the graph. 1, 2, 3. 0, 3 is right here. Now, the slope will tell me the other points. Well, my slope is negative 1/3. Negative 1/3. It means that for every negative 1 in the y, it's a positive 3 in the x. So if I go down 1 and to the right 3. Down 1 and to the right 3. Or I can go the other way. I can go up 1. So if it's a positive change in the y, it has to be a negative change in the x. Up 1 and to the left 3. Again, up 1 and to the left 3. My y-intercept is right here, so this right here is my y-intercept, which is 0, 3. And this is my slope. I go down 1 to the right 3. Negative 1, positive 3. Negative 1, positive 3. Or I can go the other way of positive 1, negative 3. Positive 1, negative 3. I'd like to do one more example. I'd like to do one more example from these pages, something that looks a little different. Number 38. Number 38, we have x minus y plus 4 equals 0. Well, again, we want it to look like this y equals mx plus b. So what we can do, we can leave the y here. We're going to subtract x from both sides. So I'm left with negative y plus 4 equals negative x. And then subtract 4 from both sides. So negative y equals negative x minus 4. Although it looks close to this y equals mx plus b, I have a negative y here, and it has to be a positive y. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1. And when we divide by negative 1, we just change the signs of all the terms. So I'm left with y equals x plus 4. Well, we may look at this, and there's actually an easier way to solve this equation. So if we look at it again here, I have all three terms on the left-hand side, and remember, I just have to get y by itself. Well, this y equals mx plus b could really be mx plus b equals y if I really wanted it. These are the same thing, as long as y is isolated. So what I can do to both sides, I can just add y to both sides. And now I'm left with x plus 4 equals y. It's sort of a little hidden or disguised y equals mx plus b. This x plus 4 equals y is still the same as y equals x plus 4. This is still the same thing, y equals x plus 4. And I can do the same thing where the slope is equal to 1 over 1 here, and the y-intercept is 0, 4, and I can graph it the same way as I did before. One final example is number 40. Number 40, where we have x minus y equals 0. Again, I can add y to both sides, and I'm left with x equals y, or y equals x. Well, you might be wondering, what is the slope and y-intercept in this equation? I can identify the slope pretty easily. It's 1 over 1. It's the coefficient of x here. Coefficient of x is 1. But what about the y-intercept? I don't see anything. Well, this equation is exactly like y equals 1x plus 0, or just y equals x. So my y-intercept here, because the b equals 0, my y-intercept is 0, 0. This means that this graph goes through the origin and then changes 1 over 1, 1 over 1.